What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another playoff series video. Today we got 2015 round 1, the third and last of the Hawks Cup runs in my lifetime, that is. Coming into the playoffs, the Hawks were the number 3 seed, kind of flew under the radar with 102 points. Nashville, the 2nd seed in the Central, had 104 points. And these teams had faced each other before. 2010 round 1, Hawks 1-6. Just like 2010 round 1, Hawks win in 6. However, this time Nashville has home ice advantage. Game 1, Hawks win 4-3 in double overtime in one of the greatest comebacks I've ever seen. Not the greatest comebacks in just general. Not saying it's the greatest. So it's a horrible start, but there's a turning point. So Colin Wilson makes it 1-0 with his first of the playoffs. Then Victor Stahlberg scores, the former Blackhawk and champion on the 2013 team, gets his first of the playoffs to make it 2-0. 2 minutes and 13 seconds later, it's Colin Wilson again with his second of the playoffs on the power play. And it's 3-0 after the first, and after that third goal, Scott Darling, the backup goalie, comes in for Corey Crawford, which changes everything. So we go to the second period. Nicholas Jarmelson makes it 3-1 with a 4-on-4 goal. Patrick Sharp makes it 3-2 with his first on the power play, and then Jonathan Toews gets his first to make it 3-3 in the second period on the power play. So the Hawks, just like that, one period they're down 3-0. The next period they tie it up. No goals are scored in the third. No goals are scored in the first overtime. But in the second overtime, it's Duncan Keith with his first of the playoffs, and he starts his road to the Conn Smythe as playoff MVP with that goal. Game 2, Hawks lose 6-2. As Colin Wilson gets his third of the playoffs already and it makes it 1-0. Patrick Sharp then gets his second to make it 1-1. Roman Josi then gets his first to make it 2-1. See a lot of similar names on this Nashville team. Colin Wilson's no longer there, but he was there for a long time. You have Roman Josi's there. Craig Smith just left. Philip Forsberg. Matthias Ekholm down here. There's names you'll recognize. Pecorine just retired. Nashville kept their players around for a long time when they did keep them. Anyway, Patrick Kane in the second makes it 2-2 with his first of the playoffs, and then Craig Smith makes it 3-2 with his first of the playoffs. Then in the third, Philip Forsberg gets his first of the playoffs, and a minute and 47 seconds later, it's Craig Smith again with his second of the game and his second of the playoffs to make it 5-2, and then 32 seconds later, Mike Santorelli makes it 6-2, and with his first of the playoffs, and that came in a span of 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Throughout the series, you see multiple times on the board where I've stopped pointing out stuff, but like specific goals. Nashville was great at responding to goals and scoring in bunches. That's how they opportunize. That's how they that's how they've always done it. And even though they played a defensive style under Barry Trotz, that's how they opportunized. They took advantage of you in every way they can when opportunities presented themselves. Game 3, the Hawks win 4-2 at home as the series shifts to Chicago. Andrew Desjardins makes it 1-0 to make it 1-0, and then 31 seconds later, Mike Ribeiro goes in his final go-around in the NHL, and in his career, he was pretty old at this point, he'd been playing for a long time, and gets his first of the playoffs. And it's 1-1 going into the second period, where Jonathan Toews gets his second of the playoffs, and then 22 seconds later, Matthias Ekholm gets his first of the playoffs to make it 2-2. Then Brandon Saad gets his first, and Brent Seabrook gets his first to make it 3-2 and 4-2 as the Hawks win 4-2. Going into Game 4, Hawks have a 2-1 series lead. They win 3-2 in triple overtime. This was the playoffs of Blackhawks overtimes. In the first round and in the second, not in the first. You got the first round, yes. The third round, yes. However, the second and fourth round, no, none. Even though there were some close games, especially in the final. So Colin Wilson once again scores first. 3 out of 4 games he scores first specifically. 1-0, and it's his fourth of the playoffs on the power play. Antoine Vermette, picked up at the deadline from Chicago, makes it 1-1 with his first. I loved when Vermette came. One of my favorite players growing up. I always had to have him on my franchise mode teams in NHL. And this team was so much fun to me. They brought in a bunch of veterans. They brought in a bunch of people that I watched up growing and wished they had been on my team, and now they were. And then another one would have been James Neal. But James Neal scores for Nashville to make it 2-1, as he was a bit of a journeyman himself. Remember him in Dallas, with Pittsburgh, Nashville, Vegas, Calgary, Edmonton, now St. Louis. He just cleared waivers. He's been around the block. So James Neal gets his first of the playoffs to make it 2-1. Neal had a great last half of the series. You don't see him on the board here, but you'll see his name a lot. Brandon Saad in the third makes it 2-2 with his second of the playoffs, descended to overtime. No goals in the first, no goals in the second. Brent Seabrook uses his overtime magic and gets it done again. The overtime specialist himself makes it 3-2. Hawks take a 3-1 series lead and win 3-2 in Game 4, going back to Nashville for Game 5, in which they lose 5-2. So Scott Darling's been in Game 1. Well, he took over Game 1, gets the win, loses Game 2, wins Game 3, wins Game 4. Game 5, it goes back to Crawford, not at the start, because Brad Richards, another one of those players that I was talking about that I would love to have. He was here the 1 year, and it was great. He had great chemistry with Kane. A lot of players, people that play with Kane are made better. We saw it with Brad Richards. We saw it with Brandon Saad. We saw it with Artem Anisimov, Artemi Panarin. Those four that jump out immediately. Alex DeBrincat, number 5. Players like that just are able to just get better with Kane with them. And Brad Richards makes it 1-0 with his first of the playoffs. And then a minute and 15 seconds later, it's Philip Forsberg with his second of the playoffs. This is a young Forsberg, remind you. And it's like just traded out of Washington for Martin Erat. That joke never gets old. Nashville won that trade, if you're wondering. So, end of the no goals are scored in the second. And in the third, James Neal makes it 2-1 with his second of the playoffs. And then Colin Wilson makes it. That's early in the second. It's the first minute of the third. Colin Wilson then makes it 3-1 with his fifth of the playoffs. Philip Forsberg then scores 12 seconds later to make it 4-1 with his third, and then that's when Scott Darling gets pulled. Crawford's back in, and this sequence all happened in 3 minutes and 27 seconds. So it's not the first time you're going to see a bunch of goals combined. You got one here, you got 2 here, 1 up here, a bunch down over here, a bunch in this game. Nashville was great at responding. So Crawford goes in, and then Chris Versteeg with his second go-around with the Hawks. He's 2014, he came back. 2015, he was part of the second Cup run, or the third Cup run. He missed out on the 2013 one. So Versteeg gets his first of the playoffs, and then his stick shattered on that goal. I remember it very vividly. He's a right-handed shot, so it's at one time where he slaps it in. His stick just shatters, and it goes in, so that was pretty cool. And then Philip Forsberg gets the hat trick with an empty netter with his fourth of the playoffs. And Nashville is now down 3-2, and they win Game 5, 5-2. Game 6, Hawks take the series in 6 and win 4-3. As a minute and 10 seconds in, James Neal makes it 1-0 with his third of the playoffs. So not a good start. And then James Neal scores again with his fourth of the playoffs on the power play. So you see the majority of the Nashville goals come from 3 people. Colin Wilson, Philip Forsberg, and James Neal. Those 3 specifically just take over in the goal scoring for Nashville. Patrick Sharp then makes it 2-1 to make with his third of the playoffs. 39 seconds later, it's Matt Cullen, the 38-year-old at the time, to make it 3-1. Matt Cullen played a long time. So he gets his first of the playoffs, and then 58 seconds later, Jonathan Toews responds to make it 3-2 with his third of the playoffs on the power play. Toews had a great playoffs. In the first round, he was pretty good. Second round, he wasn't as good. Third round, he was a monster. No one was stopping Toews. And then the fourth round, I don't really recall him being a major asset. And I mean, of course he was a major asset. He's Jonathan Toews, captain of the Hawks. But he wasn't as big as he was against Anaheim or Nashville. So Toews gets his third, and then that sequence happened in 1 minute and 37 seconds. And then Patrick Kane makes it 3-3, ties the game in the first. So kind of like Game 6 in the if you remember in the 2010 round 1, Game 6, it was 4-3 after the first. It's 3-3 after the first in this Game 6. Kane gets his second of the series. And if anyone recalls, very much controversy was surrounding Kane, both before and after the series. As before the series, Kane got hurt badly during the regular season. He got boarded. He got cross-checked into the boards. He was out for the entire season almost. I think he played maybe only a 3/4, maybe even less than that of the games that season. And then he came back for Game 1 of the playoffs. He wasn't 100%. And then Game 2, it looked like he was back to normal. And that's kind of what people were wondering, because the Hawks were able to bring in Vermette because of it. They were able to bring in other pieces. and it made people wonder if the Hawks were basically injury cheating like the Tampa Bay Lightning, or just on a much lesser scale compared to Tampa last year. Which, because Kucherov was injured, Stamkos was injured in 2020? 2020 was Stamkos, 2021 it was Kucherov, and it was Kucherov and someone else. I can't remember who, but that's kind of the whole thing. And then in the third, no goals are scored in the second, and then Duncan Keith gets the goal in the third to make it 4-3 as he gets his second of the series. 2 game winners in a series, both 4-3 goals, and the Hawks win the series in 6 and beat Nashville for the second time in 6 years. Next time they played Nashville, it would not go that way at all, even though it was predicted to, if not a sweep. Which it was a sweep, but we'll get to there when we get to 2017. Alright, so point leaders in the series. Jonathan Toews leads the Hawks, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points, followed by Kane, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Keith, 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Sharp, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Hossa, 0 goals, 5 assists, 5 points. So you can see Hossa starting to slow down. He's getting older. He's not the goal scorer he once was. He's now passing the puck a lot more. Even though he does come back for a bit in the Anaheim series, old Hossa. And then Seabrook gets 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. So yeah, the top 6 scorers for the Hawks that series were their big 6. Toews, Kane, Keith, Sharp, Hossa, Seabrook. And Crawford goes 1-1 with an .850 save percentage. Yeah, he wasn't great in the series early on. That mostly comes from over here, and probably over here as well. And then Darling goes 3-1 with a 9. I think it's his 36 save percentage. So Darling seemed like he was going to be the goalie of the future in Chicago, and it just didn't work out because he was traded to Carolina, and then Carolina, he let in a goal from a baseball goal from center ice, and then it was into Florida as a backup, and then a minors. Now I'm not even sure if he's existing anymore. So that's what happened to Darling. And then for Nashville, Philip Forsberg leads them in scoring, 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points. Colin Wilson, 5 goals, no assist, 5 points. James Neal, 4 goals, 1 assist, 5 points. Craig Smith, 2 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Mike Ribeiro, 1 goal, 4 assists, 5 points. And then Rene, if I can move this for a second, 2-4 with a .929 save percentage. So overall, pretty good series for Pekka Rinne. Another series where he would never gain the Stanley Cup, but I did see him score a goal in Chicago because that's happened in 2020, I think. Or was it 2021? I don't remember. The series kind of blend together. I'm pretty sure it was 2020 because a few days later, I was at the United Center to see Patrick Kane's 1,000th point. If I ever go with the series where games that greatest games or most memorable games that I've ever seen, we'll go over that. We'll also eventually go over games that I've been to, maybe, and if I can find them. I know I have all the dates and games written down. If I can find the stats from those games, maybe I'll go through those games as well. So, yeah, that's this series done. We got one more coming out today. I promised I'd do 2 playoffs. I only did the BFR yesterday. Sorry about that. So, yeah, Hawks play Colorado tonight. I won't be able to watch this game as it's only on ESPN Plus, in which I do not have. Usually it's on NBC Sports Chicago. It is not. So I won't be able to give you the full breakdown of the game, but I will be able to get the ESPN score sheet, highlights I'll be able to find on Instagram. I don't use Twitter because that's just a mess. And just on YouTube and other media platforms, TikToks. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find something. I'm on all over hockey TikTok. So, yeah, that's really all I have for you guys today. Well, not today, for now. Another video coming soon, so I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.